If the typical prospective home buyer or home seller knows three real estate agents, what are the odds they're going to select you to represent them? When I do a live training session, I often ask this question, and inevitably someone would blurt out 33%, to which I say, well, that certainly is an average answer. Then I look around the room and I say, raise your hand if you want to be average. Not surprisingly, no one raises their hand. At which point I usually compliment the person who answered because I don't want people to be afraid to speak up the rest of the session. But here's the thing. We get the math right. We get the principle dead wrong. Your goal should be what I call 80-10-10. Create the conditions where 80% of the time, if a prospect knows three agents or more, they choose you. 10% of the time, someone else wins. They have a sister with a real estate license, or they feel pressure to use their boss's wife who's a realtor, and all that's fine. We rarely get 100% of anything. And the other 10% of the time, it goes to that third agent, or the deal just doesn't happen at all. But that's the target, 80%, not 33%, not average, dominant. Now, most agents think people are choosing based on years of experience, sales volume, designations, credentials, that the person who wins is somehow the most qualified agent in the room. And here's where the data slaps you in the face. The average consumer can name 3 to 5 agents off the top of their head, but here's how they actually choose one. 67% of sellers and 71% of buyers interviewed only one agent. Listen to that again, not 3, not 2, one agent. While a prospect may know 3 to 5 agents, the data shows they almost always hire the first one they think of. Or if they can't think of one, they hire the one recommended by a trusted friend. And which agent does that friend recommend? The first one they think of. So the game isn't about being the most qualified agent. The game is about being the most remembered agent. This changes everything, or at least it should. We have this movie in our heads where the seller sits at their kitchen table, 3 agents parade through their home on 3 separate evenings, and then the family deliberates over a spreadsheet or listing packets and picks the winner. That's a fantasy. Most listing presentation training I've taken in my career is built around this fantasy. The reality, most people, if they like the first agent they meet, will hire them on the spot. They wanted less friction from the beginning. Now, there are people who are truly intend to interview multiple agents, and some of them follow through. But here's what I've found. Those are usually the people who didn't already have a relationship with an agent. They defaulted to shopping because they didn't have someone that they already trusted. So here's a script I want you to keep in your back pocket. If you're ever on the phone with someone who says, just to be upfront with you, we're interviewing several agents, your response should be, great, let me go first. Then you can use me as a measuring stick to compare the others. Say it just like that, confident, no pushback, no desperation, because here's what happens when you do that. You go in there, you're friendly, you're competent, you don't posture, you just show them specifically how you would go about selling their house. And they look at each other and they think, you know what? They were pretty straightforward. Seemed like they knew what they were doing. Do we really want to go through this 2 more times? Let's just go with them. I've heard it countless times. We were going to talk to a couple of other agents, but we liked your presentation, so we're just going to move forward with you. Now, why does this happen? Because people want to make a decision. They want to reduce friction. Interviewing multiple agents is exhausting, and most people dread the idea of sitting through a high-pressure sales pitch twice more. So when you walk in there and you don't do that, when you're just honest, calm, and specific, you become the easiest yes in the room. If you go first and do a great job, you probably won't be the measuring stick. You'll be the only stick. Now, let's go back to the majority, the people who don't interview anyone, the people who just call the first agent that pops into their head that they feel comfortable with. That's most of your market. Jim Rohn used to say, success is nothing more than a few simple disciplines practiced every day. And in this business, that discipline is staying in touch. Not just when you need something, consistently, genuinely, over time. If you stay in front of people better than the other agents they know, if you're the one who shows up in their mailbox, their inbox, their phone, their social feed when they start thinking about moving, you're the one they call. Not because you were the most qualified, although you may be, but because you were the most present. And presence beats credentials every single time. Think of it like this. Let's say that you can see into your prospect's mind. And in your prospect's mind, they've got an escalator that is moving in a downward direction. Now, they have a lot of escalators, but this particular escalator is the real estate agent escalator. And when you have a positive encounter with this potential prospect, congratulations, you have made it onto their escalator, meaning that you now have space in their brain. You're now a part of their memory, at least for now, but this is a downward moving escalator. And if you do nothing to solidify that positive encounter, then they will forget you. But on the other hand, if you have this positive encounter and then you send them a follow-up message, you send them a note that says, hey, I really enjoyed meeting you. I appreciate the recommendation for the restaurant. My wife and I are going to check it out. Or you talked about their home value of their particular property, and so you send them a market analysis, then you move up the escalator. But if you do nothing else, if you don't stay in touch with them, it's a downward moving escalator, and you will move down and they will forget you. Now, why is this a downward moving escalator? Because these people are not in peak buying or selling mode right now, meaning they've got other stuff going on. You are not the center of their universe. They've got t-ball games, and they've got doctor's appointments, and they've got scouts and all the things that parents do, doctor's appointments and whatnot. And so you're not sticky enough to stay in somebody's brain that's got all that stuff going on and all the things that we got going on in our life. But if you constantly reach out to them, if you can move up their escalator faster than you're moving down the escalator, your goal is to own the top spot in that prospect's mind. But we're talking about competing against, 2 or 3 other agents. How are you the one that they choose? Is it possible that when you meet somebody that they already in their mind know another agent? Sure, they have an agent at the top of their mind, but that agent is also on a downward moving escalator. And if they're not doing things to stay in touch with that particular prospect, and most agents don't, then as they're moving down in their mind, you're doing things to stay in touch with them, the person that you've met, and you're moving up the escalator. And eventually you overtake them and you become the one that they think of first. And if you stay in touch with them, you will own that top spot in that prospect's mind. That is how this works. So how do you actually build this? Well, it comes down to 3 things that I call the recall stack. Number 1 is consistent, valuable communication. Not just checking in. This is also not market updates nobody reads. I'm talking about content and messages that are actually useful to the people that you know. Tips on home values in their neighborhood. Stories of deals you closed and what you learned. Things that make them think, I didn't know that. You want to be the agent who educates, not the agent who begs. Number 2, personal touch points. A physical card mailed ahead of time and a text on their birthday. A handwritten note when you heard their kid graduated. A quick phone call when you saw something online about their neighborhood. These aren't big gestures. They cost you 10 minutes, but they're memorable because nobody else is doing them. The bar is low. Clear it. Number 3, proof of work. Share your wins. When you close a listing, especially a tough one, talk about it. Not in a braggy way, not in the so happy for my clients type of post that everyone does, but in a here's what we navigated and how we got it done kind of way. It helps for people to see that you are actively in the market, that you're active in solving problems, that you're actively winning for clients. If you go dark between closings, they forget you exist. Do these 3 things consistently, and you stay at the top of their mental escalator. You own a piece of their brain. The part that lights up when someone says, do you know a good agent? And this is a numbers game and it's a relationship game. And here's where many agents have wrong thinking. They think their job is to contact as many strangers as possible, always pressing, always hunting. I'm not saying that prospecting doesn't matter. It absolutely does. But chasing strangers while neglecting your existing relationships is like planting seeds in a neighbor's garden and wondering why nothing is growing on yours. You have a database, a relationship portfolio, people who already know you, already like you, at least they did before they forgot you. And most agents, dramatically underwork that list. Alec Hormozi has a line I love. He says, your biggest problem is not lead generation, it's lead nurturing. And it's true. The leads you already have, the people already in your world, they are far more likely to convert than a cold lead you scraped off the internet. So before you spend another $1 on Zillow leads or Facebook ads, ask yourself, Have I truly worked my existing database? Have I contacted them in the last 30 days with something of value? Have I given them a reason to think about me? Have I earned the right to be the one they call? So let's come back to where we started. If your prospect knows 3 agents, what are the odds they choose you? Well, it depends. It depends on whether you've been present or absent, whether you've been adding value or just waiting to be needed, whether you've built mental real estate or let someone else have it, whether you are the highest agent on their escalator. The math says 33%, but the math assumes you're doing nothing differently than the other 2 agents. It assumes you're equally forgettable, equally inconsistent, equally reactive. The moment you become proactive, the moment you decide to systematically stay in front of the people that you know, deliver value, and show proof of work, the math changes. 33% becomes 50%, then 60%, then 80%. That's the 80-10-10 world. And every agent can get there. Not with some secret closing technique, not with a slicker listing presentation, but with the fundamentals done consistently over time without excuse. But not every agent will. Rohn said it best, don't wish it were easier, wish you were better. Get better at staying present. Get better at adding value. Get better at being the one they remember. Do that and you won't be competing for a third of the market. You'll own it. If this hit differently today for you, share it with an agent in your office who needs to hear it. And if you want more tactical instruction to enhance your career, subscribe to this channel. I'll see you on the next one.